Thank you for being here. We're really excited to get this panel started. Awesome panel. We just had such a good briefing here. And all of you almost in the room have seen those videos and highlight reels where you push one button and you get this perfect cinematic video, RIP Hollywood. But that's not quite the reality that's happening on the ground. And we are here to really bring out and show you those different perspectives from artist point of view, from traditional studio point of view, and also from the platform and model point of view of what is happening on the ground. So that by the end of this panel, I will promise you, you will leave with reality of what's actually happening, what's working, what's not working, and also some tangible takeaways. So with that, I want to invite on stage our first panelist, Caroline Ingeborn. Come on stage. She's the COO of Luma AI, which is the company behind reimagine and Ray 3 video generation models, one of the leading models in the space, transforming how we create, ideate, visualize, and using text and images. Before Luma, Caroline was the CEO of Tokaboka, which many of you with kids might know as the CEO, growing it to more than 100 million in revenue and 60 million users. Then Alexia, come on stage. Alexia Adana is the VP and Director of Creative Technology and Innovation at Edelman, where she's pioneering AI across a 5,500-person organization. So you're going to learn a lot how to implement an innovation inside a large organization. She's also an early OpenAI Artist Program member. You might have seen her in the early Sora videos, and also has worked with many large brands such as Microsoft, Adobe, Disney, Nike, Google DeepMind, and he's also developing her own concept and worlds called Bloomchild, which you should all check out, and you'll see some videos playing here. And Jessica, come on out as well. Jessica is a two-time Emmy-nominated producer. She's a senior executive producer at A+E Factual Studios, which is part of the A+E Global Media. That's the IP powerhouse, between many premium documentaries premiered on Disney+, History Channel, HBO Max, such as It Is the Game, The Madden NFL from Prime Video, and Black Patriots for History. So we will have a more traditional production background as well represented here, as many of you, I'm sure, are curious to learn more. And with that, we want to get into the straight talk straight away. And I want to start, Alexia, with you, because you told me something that was very counterintuitive when we initially talked. Like, I was like, what is real? What's actually working for an artist today? And like, how do you use, like, what are the wins where it works and what are the areas that it doesn't work? Why don't you share what role does AI play for you? Like, what are the big wins and unlocks for you?
Yeah, I have a unique position of being an artist and also working as a creative professional, like in a corporate environment. And so for me, a lot of the benefits are the 75% of grunt work that it takes to create anything. And so using AI to build really intuitive systems, like I have a custom GPT that's trained on all of my body of work, my point of view, my thought leadership, my articles, my color palette. Like, it's really trained down to the nitty gritty of who I am. And so then I can have different threads for like project management or drafting, articles, etc. And the amount of time, that I'm spending doing that is actually a lot more than the actual like final output that you see. So I feel like the promise of AI, a really big promise, is just really helping with the administrative work that goes into creating anything, taking out the friction, taking out the grunt work, so you can actually just spend more time being creative and making.
Which is very counterintuitive, because a lot of the talk here is about like the sexy new image or video generation tool, but the reality for you is actually just opening up time and using the rest of the tools to make you be more creative.
Yeah, and I'm like, right now, it's like I'm spending a lot of time learning how to build my own MCPs and, connecting N8N with Claude. And these are things that people are, charging like $25,000 to do for agencies, but you guys can go on YouTube and spend about 8 to 10 hours and kind of build your own MCPs. And I think that's what's really exciting. We've seen a lot of, vibe coding today and seeing how artists are building their own tools. And to me, that's why the creator economy is really booming right now, and why, agencies and brands who kind of like think to build more nimbly and leverage these tools, it's like those are the people that are really going to win.
Jessica. You work obviously with some of the biggest IP out there today, especially in the factual space and historical content. What is the reality on the ground in a studio today? And maybe we can queue up Jessica's video as well. Is it like that we're all in, on productions using AI, or is it actually, what sometimes we learn that stop using AI and we're never going to use it? Like, what is the actual reality in a production studio today?
I love sitting first between these two ladies, but also as an executive producer at a legacy company that has really gone all in on AI. It really touches kind of every facet of our company. And for us as producers and developers of content, what's been really fun is we have this amazing library, this massive library of IP, of existing content, a mountain that we can kind of build off of, and all of these kind of new elements in the pipeline. So we've been able to kind of look at AI content creation kind of from both of those avenues, and it's been fun. We've had a lot of fun, and where I've spent the last, I would say, month of my time is really digging into some of our historical doc series and figuring out how we can reimagine it with AI. I don't know if we have the video to show, but we've been at this long enough, and like a lot of you, some of you are new to this, some of you have been creating a lot of content. And at this point, we figured out how to perfect the prompt, right? In some ways for this stuff. We figured out how to perfect the prompt. We really love our first frame. We love our end frame. We hit generate, and then we're like, oh God. So a lot of what we're leaning our creators is to say, okay, you got this. How can you turn it into something that you really love? Sometimes it's just using those first 3 seconds, like in that Panama Canal clip. And sometimes it's looking at this and you say, where did that guy come from? I don't know. He wasn't supposed to be there. You get to something that actually works. This is where we ended up and said, okay, pencils down, let's move on to the next shot. Or you get something like this. Right? You get something like that. You're like, well, what do I do with that? I'm going to generate again. And again. And you're going to get a cutaway. So really thinking about how you can make the most of what you're getting turn it into something you really love, and then move on. So again, these are some of our old programs, our existing IP that we're having a lot of fun with using AI.
Fun. Caroline, you've said publicly, and I've heard this a few times, that models are not good yet. We're very early. What's the ground truth that you're seeing today on your platform? Like what works, like where those models exceed and where maybe they're falling short?
I think, if it depends on who you are and where you're sitting. If you're sitting from the perspective of, are we able to do crowds? Yes, we are able to do crowds today. We were not able to do crowds X months ago. So it is absolutely moving in the right direction. And we can do more and more things every week, every month. And still, I feel as being Luma, the models are not good enough because we are building models that can operate and resonate alongside us. And the models can't today. We're at the first very inkling of a model that can reason. And so I think we're very early. What we try to do at our very best is we're trying to walk this line where, we market ourselves as we're one of very few multimodal AGI companies where we're working in towards the forefront of everything. And at the same time, what I don't want to do is take Jessica as an example. I don't want to sit with Jessica, sell her on the future, push her to be well, if you don't sign up with us for X million dollars, then we don't have a deal. Yeah. And then for Jessica to honestly look stupid internally because she's oh, I believed in Caroline's future and I thought we could do all of these things, and then I bought all of this stuff and actually we can't do anything. So we try to be very specific with can you do crowds? Can you not do crowds? Which use cases is our models really, really good for today, and which ones are harder?
We've seen that. And Jessica, coming back to you, to the production reality today, you are, a premium content production company. You have audiences that have expectations of what they expect to see, anything that comes under your brand, under your IP. on the front lines, you see some of the resistance to using AI, and also sometimes hearing that behind the scenes everybody's using it. What have you learned within that time? Because you've been driving some of that innovation within the studio as well. Like, what does it look like today, and what have you learned about implementing AI in the production pipelines?
We've learned a lot. You've all probably heard this saying, but we say it a lot in kind of documentary and unscripted TV. Making content is like herding cats, or it's like building an airplane while you're flying it. We're finding that, as we're working with these tools and trying to get the most out of them, it's like herding cats on an airplane while you're flying and building it, right? It's that double chaos. I think for us, we're trying to take a lot of our learnings as an established company, looking at workflows, looking at processes, but we're also kind of building that into, the what's next, what's next for our studio, giving audiences something that they're looking for. And I think we know our audience really well. We want to give them something great. They trust us. They want something that's worth their time. That's always in the back of our mind, right? Like, give something that is really worth people's time. They come to us, they trust us. Here's our offering.
And what have you practically in terms of your production day-to-day? How has it changed your day-to-day, implementing now AI, both to the teams and maybe changing your budget or changing your timelines and schedules? What are the things that are happening real life day-to-day?
Yeah. I have lots of virtual whiteboards and bulletin boards, but I also have a bulletin board in my office with little Post-it notes on it. And I put all my isms on there, kind of the things that I share with my team or the things that I share with other people when we chat about AI. And a lot of those isms are the things that we keep in mind in kind of traditional television, but where it translates here for kind of the work we're doing in AI. And I wrote them down for you, Sander, and for the Rune. So this take what's worth it, right? Take what works for you. Okay, here we go.
Pencils out.
Pencils out, y'all. Pre-production is king for us. The idea of give yourself a lot of time for R&D. Figure stuff out at the top. Getting aligned on the creative. Say we're doing a historical documentary. What do your characters look like? What does your world look like? What's your look? What's your tone? What's your feel? Talk about it at the top. Get your team kind of on board with that. Get your client on board with that. You don't want to surprise them down the road, right? Get everyone on board and kind of move that forward. This is not a world where you necessarily can fix it in post. Spending that time at the top, I think, is really, really helpful. Build in contingencies. We don't always do this. Production schedules are pretty aggressive. They're pretty tight, right? But new models come along, and every couple of weeks there's something pretty cool that comes out. And so how can you pad a little bit of time at the end? True story. We had a proof of concept that we had to share with the client. They were expecting it, and Luma's Ray 3 came out. You guys are going to get this next week. And so we're on Ray 3, we're learning it, we're working with the model. We put it in, and it went from good to great. So that idea of really allowing your time, win his pencils down, and then give yourself a few extra days so you can work in kind of that new
both
material.
ends. The front end basically doing adding time in pre-production before you even get into it. That's basically a new line of probably spend and time. And then the same to the very back end. I think having both times, but I would say if I had to pick and choose, which we never want to do, definitely at the front. But having both is really great. Don't get discouraged. This came a direct quote from one of my artists. It took 12 hours to get 3 usable shots. It happens. Keep going. Say that again. 12 hours for 3 usable shots.
For 3 usable shots.
Somebody just said a full documentary in 48 hours. That doesn't sound like.
It could be something. If it's watchable.
Yep.
I don't know.
Understood.
I don't know. But to that same idea, you probably have all heard this from your parents sometimes. Perfect is the enemy of the good, right? Perfect is the enemy of the good. So doc TV producers and editors and creators, I think, make great AI content creators also, because our whole life is, we're never in control of what happens when you're a doc filmmaker. Is it raining today? great, this is my shot where my characters are out in the rain. Oh no, it's really sunny today. I want my character to say this. They don't say that, so you have to figure it out.
Or somebody else shows up in a scene.
Or somebody else shows up in a scene with a camera that's not even historically accurate. But so we're dealing with uncontrolled elements all the time. So I think my advice would be, push yourself, but know when to pivot, right? Use your taste actively. Work with people who have really good taste, but are also flexible. And we like to say sometimes it's plan C for the win, right? You plan for A, B happened, you didn't like B, and C what really worked. So think about that. And lastly is surround yourself with good people. Like that feels a little cliche, I think. We say that in life, but also in this moment in time and working with creative people, you need people who are smart. You need people who are fantastic problem solvers, right, and are flexible. So I think always look and surround yourself with great people.
Love it. Hopefully you all got it down. Alexia, I want to come to you because there's kind of two sides of you. On one hand, you're at the very bleeding edge artist who's working on what's latest, greatest available out there, and you're pushing the boundaries both in storytelling and technology. At the same time, you're working at a 5,500 person company, and there's just one of you who's driving innovation in that area. So I think there's a lot of people in the room here who are like driving innovation and change. How do you implement those tools and workflows in your organization? How do you do that? How do you do that in such a big organization? What are the structures, tools that you set in place, and so that something that we can take away and implement ourselves?
Yeah, I think, Jessica, you mentioned it. R&D is so important right now, and investing in creativity means investing in experimentation right now. So having a culture where senior leadership embraces bringing on new tools, experimenting with them. Our EP of AI, Gabe Michael, he's here, working really closely with him to identify tools that are going to protect our clients, that provide indemnification, doing pilot programs, making sure that we're working with companies that allow us to, onboard, a handful of creatives, a few seats, credits, whatever it is, test the tools, experiment on the production side. But a big thing for me in terms of innovation is also being proactive. And so I co-lead innovation sprints internally at Edelman, where we're identifying problems that we can try to solve and look 6 to 12 months ahead. So one of the prototypes that we built was based in this insight that kids from marginalized communities, they're not reading as much anymore because they don't see themselves in the stories. There's a culture gap. The parents aren't reading to them as much as well. So we thought, what if we could allow any child to see themselves as, the center of any story? So we basically created an AI-powered storytelling framework where on the back end, we could identify any public domain story, copyright conscious. And GPT would essentially create like a 26-page template. You could say, I want to create a story, Alice in Wonderland, but instead it's Alexia from Wonderland, and I'm from Jamaica. So GPT will make its attempt to translate, Alice in Wonderland into Jamaica, but obviously we know that AI is biased. So we're making sure that on that back-end framework, a copywriter can then go in, or a human being can go in and make sure that, page by page, we're removing bias and we're making sure that things feel authentic. And then you can go even further and customize every character in that story. So instead of the little white rabbit, it becomes my favorite teddy bear. And so you can upload a picture of me, and within that framework, we allow it so I get turned into a children's storybook style character. And so these are things that the company is investing in that R&D for us to identify these problems proactively, build these prototypes, and then be able to take it to our clients and say, hey, this is the use case and problem that we identified, but we've built a back-end framework. So your use case might not be, Hero Me, which was the name of the prototype. It could be, how do we translate your story in a way that's going to be relevant for your consumer? But we've got this prototype to show that we can take those problems and create solutions.
What specific, like if you're, a CEO here in this room and you go back to your business today, like how do I know, like should I do a workshop? Should I start an R&D department? Like what's my next step? Like what's the kind of crawl, walk, run version of driving innovation in a large company?
I'll steal something. The global CCO from RGA, I've seen her talk a couple times, Tiffany. What they do, their kind of whole methodology is make things that make things. And that's what you should be doing right now as a company. Even if it's like identifying a small group of people, just giving them the freedom to experiment. Obviously, you know, at Edelman, like, we encourage experimentation internally, but externally we make sure that all the tools that we use provide indemnification. Like, we are never uploading any kind of client data into a system that's not going to protect that data. But we also want to make sure that people are experimenting with the tools and being conscious. So like every week I, you know, host like a weekly workshop with the creatives. And I honestly don't even know what I'm going to be workshopping until maybe 24 hours because that's how like quickly
Never
the
know
tools
what happens
change,
in the AI world.
you know? So like last week it was Figma and how to like vibe code in Figma because that just became a thing in the last 2 weeks, which, you know, was pretty insane. And, you know, the week before was, you know, how do you, we have Nano Banana in our enterprise tools now. Like, let's kind of explore what that looks like. And then making sure, you know, I'm hitting up Gabe and being like, are we allowed to use these things? Like, just making sure. So the thing with Edelman, because it's like a major, you know, a big company and we represent huge clients, we have to be really conscious about the legalities of things, which on the surface can seem like it's slowing down innovation. But as long as you have that experimentation and that R&D baked into your business, you know, I still feel like we're still being able to move at the speed of culture.
Love it. Caroline.
Yes.
On a platform level, you see a lot. Thousands of creators on the platform using it. What have been the most surprising ways how the creatives use the platforms maybe to push the boundaries of what's possible? Or maybe take the other side and say, you know, how we shouldn't be using the platforms?
I think that there was a lot of things that happened in the beginning, which was like weird and wonderful. And was like, we talked a little bit about earlier, like the taking photos of my ancestors and bringing them to life, like making them move. My ancestors never really got very good, but I sure tried. But so there was a lot of like weird things that everyone's trying. Where I see a lot of experimentation at the moment, which is really, really exciting, is in this evolving, like, and the question that I get the most is around hybrid AI. And the like, how do we keep actors? I've yet to meet a brand that is fully like, I want to have like AI avatars in my commercial. I have not met a filmmaker, like some are okay with having crowds, but the two main characters better still be like us, like real humans. And so this evolving world around hybrid AI, I'm seeing a lot of experimentation. So with our modified video, you're able to do that. Now the next level of that is, of course, can we keep the characters fully consistent? Because today, if we put me or Jessica or any one of us in there, we might stay kind of consistent, but we might also turn into someone else. And that is so funny when we do it with me, but it's not funny if we're paying an actor who's really, really expensive to get there, and then we're changing the environment for it. But this is happening soon. And when I say things are happening soon, I'm not over-promising because I just don't want to do that. Like, this is going to become reality very soon, and that is going to open up a lot of, I think, interesting experimentation.
That's exciting. What's very soon?
I mean, what is very soon? Very soon is months, not years.
Aha. That's a good tip for all of you. Keep your eyes open for the updates. There's a lot of questions like that roaming around here that I've heard that people have top of mind. One of the big ones is disclosure. Also disclosure, transparency from the artist side of like, do I say like where did I use what kind of tool? Or like, was this AI generated? That's one thing. But then there's also the other side, which is as a consumer and as a viewer of that content on the platforms, being transparent to them, like when and where AI was used. Or like in 3 years' time, it wouldn't even matter. Like, what do you think?
So Benny Chu did a really great presentation earlier that kind of blew my mind.
Shout out to Ben.
Yeah. So he was doing a campaign for Hot Topic. And so it was these 3 AI generated ads to promote the product. And all of the comments on social were like, AI slop, like we hate, hate AI. But then it turned out that they sold like thousands more units than prior. And the client like attributed that to the campaign. So it was this kind of eye-opening thing where it's like on one end, on social, we're seeing people very anti-AI when it comes to, slop, and we want to see the real thing. But then when it comes to the actual product and the consumer, it told a different story. So I think it does the consumer care? I think context matters and what the product is and what we're seeing and like where it happens. But I personally, I really do believe in craft-centered creativity and approach, and I think the way that we use these tools need to be centered in human craft and human storytelling and human skills. The consumer might not see that visibly, but I think story is at the heart of everything, and if there's not an emotional connection in some way, then I think that will be clear to the consumer.
Caroline, what are your thoughts from both platform point of view, the transparency and adding metadata to whatever is created to ensure transparency? Does it even matter, or are we just generally overreacting, as with your example of sure, we're loud minority who hates it, but then we sell a ton of products?
No, but I think this is a blip, actually. I understand where the question is coming from, but I do think this is a blip. I agree with Alexia that the best stories that we're seeing are coming from great storytellers. AI is not the great storyteller. There's a human that is telling that story. And I think we're, at this point of time, we're in this very, very interesting intersection of the models and the tools are just becoming good enough, and more and more really good storytellers are becoming curious enough to start testing it. And so as a consumer, I'm seeing better and better stories told with AI. It's a weird thing for me as a consumer to then say, in this scene we used AI, and in that scene we used this, and in this, I'm there to watch a story.
It's like going to a James Bond movie, this explosion was using VFX.
Yeah, no, we would never do that. Why would we do that? That destroys my experience. If it is a good story, it will have my attention. And I think that what AI opens up for is for more high quality stories to be told. That's why we at Luma are so production focused to get to that high quality as fast as possible. To be able to tell more stories of high quality. But I think it's a blip. Really.
It's a blip. It's kind of like when digital came in the first place. There was digital heads of everything. We're doing digital video, and now a couple of years later, it's just video. So.
Yeah, I think so.
I will say I do agree with Grimes earlier that I personally feel 100% AI generated humans in content right now doesn't feel authentic. If it's based on a real person, an actor, or someone's likeness that they've given permission to, then they are now a part of that story, and that's a little bit different. But I think people seeing AI generated humans selling an ad, I'm not sure. I don't know. My hot take is I'm not sure that that's the best type of storytelling in certain contexts. It doesn't feel authentic to me.
No, I agree. But I think that the leading thing there is it a good story or is it not a good story? Can I tell a better story, or can I tell a story at all if I'm using a synthetic human, or can I not? But the leading thing, for me at least, is how do I tell a good story?
To wrap the session, because we are coming to a time, unfortunately. I love the conversation and want to keep it going. Let's look at the future. Something that's everybody's top of mind here is my role going to be around? What should be my team structure? Who should I hire? Those things are on everybody's top of mind. If you had to choose 2 things, what's the one thing that you would go all in on, and then how you would implement that in your own organization, whether that's in hiring or training or a skill that you would recommend everybody to acquire? So something that we can all walk away and start doing tomorrow if we're not doing it already. Maybe we'll start with you, Jessica, this time.
Okay, the things I would go all in today may be different than what I'd go all in, down the road. I think it goes back to what I was saying earlier. Is I'm all in on surrounding myself with good creative people, giving them time, giving them training. So I think as we're thinking about continuing to grow and build, that's what I would go all in on right now.
Alexia?
Go all in on being obsessively curious right now, I think, and also working with people who are obsessively curious and who are like, if this tool or if this thing allows me to make this thing, I'm going to learn how to do it. I think working with people like that will unlock so much innovation, so much opportunity. So even if they don't,
it's less about learning comfy per se, but it's more about
it's more about the mindset of like, I want to build something. How do I build that thing? It's not like, how do I use Comfy or how do I use Luma or how do I use this? It's, I want to build the thing. What's going to allow me to do that? And working and hiring people who have that mindset, because then like sky's the limit, right? You'll figure out how to build anything.
Caroline?
I think it depends who you are. If you're a creator, it's just jump in, like congratulations, you're in luck. I understand it can be scary, but it's like, congratulations to be a creator at this point of time. You're gonna have the best 10 years of your career. If you own a production company, I think you need to lead by example, and you need to be the person that Alexia just talked about. Like, you need to be curious. You need to be interested. I don't think you should be super worried about, like, do I have the right creative people? If you have talented creative people in your organization today, if you are curious and you give them time and you help train and educate, they're going to continue to be great creators.
Love it. With that, stay curious, keep learning, keep an open mind, and you'll be fine. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.